What is it that makes North Carolina our place? What makes it home? For some of us, it comes from deep down. Our people are here. For some of us, even while it's home, it's a place we experience systemic inequality. For still others, it's a new place full of excitement. For some, North Carolina provides environmental initiatives to support and research to explore. For many like myself, it is the place we created our first memories and the place we will cherish our last. North Carolina is my place. After college, I lived in 7 other states and worked as a documentary photographer in more than 20 countries. Throughout that time, when someone has asked where I'm from, I haven't hesitated. No matter where I was living at the time, I'm from North Carolina. My name is Susie Post-Rust, and this is my photographic exploration of my home. My mother, Rose Post, moved to Salisbury, North Carolina when she was 13. My grandparents were opening a clothing store on Main Street. It was the Great Depression, and they would live above the store. Like in many small towns in North Carolina, Main Street is also Highway 70. My grandparents' store, Zimmerman's, was on the right, just beyond Council Street. My mother lived in North Carolina all but 2 years of her life. This is a legacy she has given both me and my daughter. Rose Post worked as a writer at the Salisbury Post for more than 50 years. In 1998, she traveled the main streets of our state, looking for what it means to be a North Carolinian. She began her project in Atlantic, North Carolina, where the ocean meets the land and the trees bend away from the salt and the sand. She journeyed on Highway 70 across North Carolina, all the way to the Blue Ridge Mountains on the border of Tennessee. And now I'm doing the same, traveling Highway 70 across North Carolina. I'm primarily photographing, not writing. I'm inspired by her words and informed by her journey, but I'm not revisiting every place my mother went, although in some situations I am finding the next generation. This year I was fortunate enough to become part of the Community Engaged Scholarship Collaborative at Duke. I've been working with this generous and supportive cohort to expand the project. I began photographing in the fall of 2019, and I wasn't really sure what direction it would take. In March of 2020, COVID arrived. Things shut down indefinitely. It felt like a cloud descended, and it seemed that overnight we became isolated. A darkness enveloped many people. Daily COVID updates were sent, and fear escalated. Meanwhile, members of Reopen North Carolina marched weekly in our capital. Protesters made demands of the governor outside his mansion. An anonymous Grim Reaper wandered through the crowd of unmasked protesters, silently challenging their view. Food insecurity surged as children who were receiving 2 meals a day at school were no longer at school. Local volunteers worked with restaurants and the DPS Foundation to create a delivery system for anyone who needed food. And then George Floyd was killed. Thousands of mourners flocked to Rayford, North Carolina, to attend his memorial. Friends clung to each other after seeing the casket, wondering aloud what kind of world their children would face. Students in Durham organized a candlelight vigil, drawing more than 500 people. They sat silently for 9 minutes, 25 seconds, the amount of time that Floyd was pinned to the ground. High school students still celebrated and still mourned the transition. Protests against police brutality marched straight down Durham's Main Street. It was a time of reckoning. The summer was charged with passion. What crystallized for me is that while fighting for what we believed in, we became adamant against others. With our individualized news feeds and the election looming, the people with whom we disagreed became whole groups that had labels: immigrants, the religious right, liberal white women. I made a decision about this project. I decided to dig deeper and document individuals who fit into those categories, but without naming the label. I wanted to find what we have in common. As I've traveled the road, people have welcomed me in. I've seen a glimpse of our shared humanity. We are a diverse place. We have different religions. We have different skin color, different sexual orientations, and different political views. We accept chaos, but we look for elegance. We are creative and we are unique. We value family and we need solitude. Through all of this, change is the constant. The distinct contrasts that I found made me wonder if we are not better off for living with our diversity. My mother wrote, "People are like the road, changing, getting lost, disappearing, and then finding their way again, always changing." As I've worked on this project, I could feel my mother's touch, helping me understand our divided world that she no longer shares with me. So I will end with words from her story. Like a train whistle in the night, a road always calls us on, a ribbon into tomorrow. It tempts us with tales we haven't heard, and sights we haven't seen, and food we haven't tasted, and makes us wonder if we're like those people further on, or are we different?